Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with jazz legend Wadada Leo Smith on the 2023 album Fire Illuminations. Throughout 2022, he celebrated his 80th birthday with one of the most prolific and creative years worth of releases. Now at 81 in 2023, he returns with the first of several planned releases in this new year. The brilliant Fire Illuminations is due out on March 31st, 2023 on his own Kabell Records, featuring his new ensemble, Orange Wave Electric. We cover this album, modern life, and the future ahead, along with so much more. As a regular on Neon Jazz, it's always refreshing to swim in the brilliance of a master and get the real story. Dig this interview.
How you doing, Joe?
I'm wonderful. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. I'm talking to you on the radio. That's one of the great joys about being able to connect with people.
Absolutely, it is. It's so great to hear your voice again. I love the new album.
Well, thank you.
There's a fierceness. There's an edge to it, and I'm really looking forward to talking about it. And first and foremost, I want to know, how did this concept come about? How did this idea for the sound come about?
Well, basically, the very beginning started out with three people: Bobby Norton on vibraphone, Jawawa on percussions, and my grandson Lamar on guitar, and myself. And that was right after New Year's, 4 years ago, and we just made bits and pieces of music in that studio. And I'm thinking that it's going to be a nice session. And in the next couple of weeks, I realized that I was going to do another session. This time I called Sylvie Cavassier and Marcus Gilmore, and we did some stuff. And later I called Bill and Brandon Ross and Bill Oswell, Brandon Ross, Mervyn Gibbs, Verona Gloff, Mario. I mean, that's all of the guys I started calling to bring in to do special sessions. And all of the sessions, none of them produced, a few of them produced complete pieces, but not many, maybe two or three of those. And most of those are only the next project that's coming out, the acoustic project. But this electric one is completely built in the studio, every single piece.
So the one thing that struck me about the feeling of this album, which is it just feels good. It feels good with where we're at in the world. We're coming out of this pandemic, and we're feeling live music. We're getting together again. You know, what are your thoughts on that? Kind of the general feeling of having new music come out after so long of us not experiencing it. Do you feel like there's a level of fresh energy that's coming out of this that's a part of the approach?
I think so. You know, my habit is that I record something like 8 to 10 times a year in studio, and I spend the next half of the year mixing in the studio. So I basically live in the studio, not 24 hours or 36 hours like I used to, but now I'm like 3 to 5 hours in there, probably 6 months out of a year. Okay, so when the pandemic hit, that was my major form of musical activity. Well, last June at the Vision Festival, when they gave me the Lifetime Achievement Award, right after that performance, which was my first live performance since 2019, I decided that I was going to start back to travel. And I'm in the process of that now. I'm appearing very soon, in April 2nd, I believe it is, at Big Ears Festival. I'm appearing in Chicago the week after that, celebrating Constellation's 10 years of presentation. Then I go from there straight to Italy, where I'm doing 2 days of my Create Festival there. So once I started to perform again, or decided I was going to perform again, it was like the dam broke loose. I mean, I have too many events. But guess what? I'm gonna do it like the guys that ride these wild bulls. I'm gonna ride it until the bull stops.
Well, and speaking of that, in 2022, you celebrated your 80th birthday,
Yep.
and
Yep.
you're charging out just as hard as ever here in 2023. And the one thing that struck me about this release was there's a real feel when Miles started rounding that corner into an electronic realm. Have you thought about that at all, about how evolutionary this sound is for you?
Well, you know, with Yo Miles, the band that Henry Kaiser and I had, we looked at some of that as well. But neither Miles nor Yo Miles band they had processed electronics, you know, electronics going through other instruments. If you notice on this project, I have actual electronic music that's being part of it. So yes, that's a kind of an uplifting idea to be able to paint the sonic wave with a different kind of mixture of sound, because when you got acoustics and processed sound and electronic sounds, that's a marvelous mix.
Absolutely. So the one thing about you turning 80 last year was that it was quite a prolific creative period, and now you're celebrating with, you know, hopefully live shows and things going on. How are you feeling right now with the world opening up, warm weather coming, things are kind of getting into that post-pandemic period now?
Well, I don't think the pandemic is going to ever be over. That's one thing. And I don't want it to be understood as a kind of a panic thing. But listen, from what I've read from scientists' reports, if you dip a cup of water out of the ocean, you got tens of thousands of viruses and et cetera inside of there. And so the world is full of viruses and full of all kinds of problems. It's more volatile than we have ever admitted. But, you know, this is the environment we're supposed to adapt to and live in. So it's here. I believe it'll be here for however long we're here. But in any case, we are supposed to dot right across a bed of fire without any expectation of falling into it.
So the one thing that I wanted to actually touch on a little bit with you is that there was a fear when the pandemic began that a lot of the younger students would fall away and maybe there would be more diminished numbers. But it seems as though, especially with younger players and overall, that didn't happen. Like jazz and this music is stronger than ever. People are continuing to flock to it. What are you seeing from your end as far as the strength of jazz?
Well, I think that music is probably one of the most important components of society, and I don't think it will ever go away. And the reason it won't go away is because humans are the ones that cultivated it. It didn't grow on trees and come out of diamond beds and ocean beds and fall from the sky. It's a kind of something that we have tuned into intuitively as a collective species and have actually developed it. So music is the key to all art. Because science tells us that frequency is the quality of all existence. Planet Earth, Mars, and everywhere else, those things are determined by the level of frequencies that they hear from them. So yes, it's going to grow and grow and grow, and I don't believe it ever will go away because we cultivated it. It is absent when we become absent.
Live music. Have you played any live music lately?
Yes, I played live music. I told you from starting in June, I played at Vision Festival. And then in December, I played up in Beacon at the DIA Foundation. I went from there to Princeton in New Jersey, and from Princeton to University of Pittsburgh in Philadelphia. And last week I was up in Boston. I did a duet with Angelica Sanchez. And the week before, 2 weeks before, I was in Hartford with with Joe Morris. And then next week, on April 12th, I'm in Hartford at the University of Hart College with VJ Iyer. So I've been playing a lot since June.
So what's your feeling from the audiences? It feels as though there's a level of appreciation that's a little deeper now.
Yes, they are just as enthusiastic as they were before. And as I was trying to say earlier, I believe that it is growing.
So I got to tell you, the track that I'm picking to play on the show is Tony Williams, and
I'm glad you did. You know why? Because when I went to for groceries this morning, that's what I listened to. And when I got back to my house, it wasn't finished. So I sat in the car in front of my garage listening to Tony Williams.
That's wonderful. Well, and me mentioning Miles too, and paying respects, and there's just such a wonderful flush feeling with this tune. I'm really excited to profile it. And the one thing I do want, my final question about this album that I want to ask you before we get into the best place for those out there listening to pick it up, what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
A pure heart. I'm hoping that they can transform their awareness or consciousness and receive pure heart, because fire illumination means transformation. Fire is a method of transformation. Illumination is the method that lights up what has been transformed.
So for anyone out there that wants to pick up a copy of Fire Illuminations and listen to it, or find out about any live shows that you have, where is the best place for them to go to do that?
Well, for my website is wadadaleosmith.com. Everything is on there. It's a fantastic journey. I invite everybody that has a moment to dive into it. And the download and streaming systems throughout the industry will have copies of it.
Wonderful. Wadada, your depth and brilliance is always so refreshing to hear. Thank you for taking a minute out today. Best of luck with everything as we move forward.
All right, Joe. Thank you so much. And tell everybody, listen to Tony Williams, because he was one of the most brilliant artists ever.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players and minds in Boston, New York City, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Wadada for his time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, you can find Neon Jazz interviews on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Subscribe to us at YouTube, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.